Welcome back to the AM Edit podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. You found your way to a space that's soft, deep, and honest, where we don't pretend we have it all figured out, but we do promise to tell the truth with tenderness. And if you've been with me for a while, welcome back. You already know this is where we take a breath and tell the truth. Not the curated truth, not the polished one, but the quiet, vulnerable kind that lives underneath the surface of our busy lives. Maybe you're listening while driving home from a long day, or folding laundry in that kind of rhythm that lets your mind wander. Or maybe, my favorite, you're sitting still, headphones in, and this moment is just for you. However you arrived, I'm so glad you did. Today, we're going to talk about something that so many of us carry, quietly, secretly, especially those of us who have spent our lives being the reliable one. The yes girl, the peacekeeper, the fixer, the one everyone knows they can count on, even when you're running on empty. I want to start this episode by reading a message that came in from a social media post. They said, "I get into a lot of uncomfortable situations because I'm too afraid to say no to people. How do I fix this?" That question stopped me in my tracks, because I know that life. I've lived that cycle of saying yes out of fear, out of guilt, out of that deep desire to be liked or to be seen as dependable, only to end up drained, overwhelmed, and quietly resentful. You say yes, even when your whole body is saying no. You push through. You smile. You stay quiet. And you carry the weight. But here's what I want to say, gently, lovingly, and clearly. That is not your job. Your job is not to be endlessly available. Your job is not to carry everyone else's comfort at the expense of your own. So today, we're going there. We're talking about the fear of saying no. What's really behind it? What it costs us? And how we begin, one boundary, one brave sentence at a time, to choose ourselves. I'll share some of my own stories, including the time I said yes to leading a team at work when I knew deep down I didn't want to manage people. I'll tell you what happened, how I got stuck, and what I learned about people-pleasing, burnout, and the truth about being a team player. We're going to unpack the myths we've internalized, like the idea that saying no makes us selfish, or difficult, or ungrateful. We'll explore simple ways to start saying no with grace and clarity. And I'll ask you some questions to help you uncover where your own yeses are coming from. Fear, habit, love, or alignment. Because when you begin to honor your no, you begin to build a life that's honest, spacious, free. So get cozy, grab something warm to drink, take a breath. And if your nervous system already feels on edge just thinking about setting a boundary, that's okay. You're safe here. Let's begin. Let's just say it clearly, because I don't think we say this enough. Saying no is hard when you've been raised to survive by saying yes. If you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where being helpful kept the peace, where conflict made everything feel unsafe, you probably learned early on that your yes was a kind of currency, a way to stay connected, a way to avoid trouble, a way to make yourself needed, because being needed felt like the closest thing to being loved. And so we kept doing it. We said yes when we were exhausted. We said yes when we didn't agree. We said yes when we wanted to scream. And now, we're adults, still doing it, still saying yes when our bodies are saying no. Still stepping over our own boundaries, not because we're weak or unwise, but because we never learned how to say no and still feel safe, loved, and worthy. That's the truth. Let me tell you something real. One of the biggest wake-up calls for me came at work. My boss asked if I would take on managing a team. And listen, I already had a full plate. I was already tired. But more than that, I knew I didn't want to manage people. I didn't want the meetings, the emotional labor, the juggling of dynamics. I loved my role as an individual contributor. Deep work, quiet creativity, low politics. But instead of saying that's not aligned with where I want to grow, I said, sure, I can do that. And just like that, I gave away my peace. I accepted more responsibility, more stress, more people needing me, and not a single dollar more in pay. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being a good team player. But really, I was betraying myself because I was afraid of being seen as ungrateful, uncooperative, or worse, replaceable. That moment taught me something huge. Every yes that isn't rooted in alignment becomes a form of self-abandonment. And eventually, that abandonment builds up. It becomes bitterness. It becomes burnout. It becomes that little voice inside whispering, I don't even recognize myself anymore. So what do? We learn, slowly, gently, to come home to our no. And not just no as in rejection, not no as in harshness, but no as in clarity. As in, this is my limit, and I honor it. As in, I trust myself enough to choose peace over performance. You know, I think a lot of us get stuck thinking that learning to say no is just this big emotional shift. Like one day we'll suddenly feel strong enough or confident enough, and then boom, boundaries. But honestly, it's a skill, one you get to practice, one you build slowly, and it doesn't have to start with the hardest conversations. It's okay to begin small. Start small. Like think about the low stakes asks. Someone wants to borrow something, or needs a quick favor, or invites you to a thing you already know you don't want to go to. Try this. I'm not able to do that right now, but I hope it goes well. Soft, respectful, no guilt. And here's one of my favorite tricks. One that saved me so many times. Use delay. When you feel caught off guard, when you feel that pressure to answer right now, say this instead. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. Seriously. That one sentence gives you breathing room. It lets you get out of the people-pleasing autopilot and actually feel into your truth. We're not used to pausing like that. But when we do, wow, the clarity that comes. And let's talk about over-explaining. Because, I used to do this all the time. I'd write these long messages trying to justify my no. But you know what I've learned? No, thank you. That is enough. You don't owe anyone a whole paragraph. You don't owe them a play-by-play of your exhaustion. You are allowed to protect your peace without a performance. Expect discomfort. Okay, this one's important. Saying no is going to feel weird at first. Like physically uncomfortable. Your heart might race. You might second-guess yourself the minute after you hit send. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It means you're breaking a pattern. You're rewiring how your body responds to boundaries. And that discomfort, it's not danger. It's growth. And here's the thing that holds it all together. Connect to your why. Why are you learning to say no in the first place? Because your energy matters. Your peace matters. Your joy, your deep soul-level joy, matters. And saying no is one way you reclaim it. Can I ask you something? And I mean really ask. Like, let this sit in your chest for a moment. What's one thing you've said yes to recently that you didn't actually want to? What did it cost you? Emotionally, physically, spiritually? And what might be possible if next time you trusted yourself enough to say no? You can pause right here if you need, or come back to this later with your journal. But please don't skip over it. These are the questions that change us. Let's do a little role play, just you and me. I want to give you some gentle, honest phrases that you can actually use. Try these. Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm not available for that right now. I appreciate the offer, but I need to pass. That doesn't work for me, but I hope you find what you need. And yes, sometimes people will push back, especially if they're used to your constant yes. But you don't have to collapse just because someone's uncomfortable. Here's what you can say when that happens. I understand you're disappointed. I still need to say no. This isn't about you. It's about what I have capacity for. No apology, no guilt, just grounded clarity. You're not being unkind. You're being honest. Okay, before we move on, I want to invite you to do something with me. If you're in a safe place, not driving, not distracted, just close your eyes for a moment and breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Now, picture a version of you, the most whole, most self-honoring version. She knows exactly what she needs. She doesn't flinch when she sets a boundary. She says no when it's not aligned. She rests without guilt. She's not harsh. She's clear. She doesn't second-guess her intuition. She doesn't live on autopilot. She trusts herself deeply. Can you see her? Because that version of you, she's already in there. You're not building her from scratch. You're simply remembering her, returning to her. Let's just sit with that for a moment. That version of you, the one who trusts her no, she's not an ideal or a fantasy. She's not someday. She's you underneath the old habits, underneath the guilt, underneath the programming that told you you had to be endlessly available to be worthy of love. And you know what I've realized? Every time you say no from a place of clarity, you're not just protecting your energy. You're modeling a new way of being. For your friends, your coworkers, your kids, your community, you're showing that boundaries aren't selfish. They're sacred. We are not here to be palatable. We are here to be honest. We're not here to be everything to everyone. We're here to be true to ourselves. And if you've been saying yes when you meant no for so long that you're not even sure what your real desires are anymore, that's okay. That's part of the unlearning. It's part of the healing. Because the more you say no to what drains you, the more space opens up for what fuels you. You begin to hear your own voice again. You start to live from alignment, not obligation. And let me tell you, there is so much freedom there, so much peace. So I want to leave you with this. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about coming back to who you've always been. Before the fear, before the people-pleasing, before the burnout. You were born with clarity. You were born with an inner compass. And every time you choose to honor that compass, even in the smallest ways, you're rebuilding your relationship with yourself. So don't wait for the big moment. Don't wait for the right time. Start today. One small no. One quiet, honest, self-honoring no. And then another, and then another. You're not being rude, you're being real. You're not being difficult. You're being discerning. You're not letting people down. You're lifting yourself up, and that matters. Okay, deep breath. You made it to the end of this conversation, and I just want to say that in itself is a kind of bravery. It takes real courage to sit with truths like these, to look at your own patterns, to gently, lovingly ask yourself, where am I betraying myself in the name of being agreeable? That's not easy work, but you're doing it. And I am so, so proud of you. I know this journey isn't linear. Some days you'll speak your boundary with clarity and walk away with peace. Other days you'll stumble, you'll second guess, you'll wish you had said something different. That's okay. That's part of it. You're unlearning years, maybe even generations, of conditioning. Give yourself grace. You're not doing this alone. And just a gentle reminder before you go. The people who truly love you. They don't just love your yes, they can handle your no. They can love the real you, the one with limits, with needs, with boundaries. And if they can't, that tells you everything you need to know. So here's your invitation as you move through the rest of your week. Be mindful of your yes. Let it mean something. And if it's not a full aligned yes from your body and your spirit, maybe it's a no. You're allowed to choose peace over performance. You're allowed to want less, to do less, to be less available. You're allowed to stop living in constant accommodation mode. Your life, your joy, your energy, they matter more than other people's comfort. And if this episode touched something in you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs it, post it, text it to a friend, drop it into a group chat. Let this be a conversation we normalize, because we're all out here trying to figure out how to honor ourselves better. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. I've got more soul-deep conversations on the way, more real talk reminders that you are not too much. You're just learning how to need less from the outside because you're building more truth on the inside. And hey, if you want to go deeper with me, come hang out on Substack, where I share weekly letters and journal prompts, or over on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, where we're building a slow, sacred little corner of clarity. All the links are in the show notes. This is Kristen. Until next time, protect your peace, trust your no, and never forget, your boundaries are not walls. They're bridges back to yourself. Talk soon. Bye.